There is a root that costs $2 at any grocery store on Earth. It penetrates cancer cell membranes, binds to the protein that keeps malignant cells alive, and triggers their programmed self-destruction. No radiation, no synthetic chemicals, no $60,000 annual prescription. Just a yellow root that ancient physicians on 3 separate continents prescribed for tumors 4,000 years before the word oncologist existed. Over 3,000 peer-reviewed studies have documented exactly how it works. MD Anderson Cancer Center, the most respected cancer research institution in America, confirmed the mechanism in 2008. And in 4,000 years, across every civilization that ever used it, not one of them needed a patent to prove it worked. The compound is called curcumin. It lives inside every turmeric root. It has been available for the price of pocket change your entire life. This is the story of what they knew, what the science proved, and why a $1.3 trillion industry needs you to never find out. Welcome to the channel. Subscribe and hit the bell. This is where we open the vaults they sealed shut. The year is 2500 BC, somewhere in the fertile river plains of ancient India. An Ayurvedic physician kneels beside a patient whose abdomen carries a hardened mass that will not heal, will not shrink, and will not respond to anything the healer has tried. He does not reach for a surgical instrument. He does not prepare a chemical compound synthesized in a laboratory. He grinds a yellow root into a paste, administers it orally, and records the treatment in precise and careful detail. The document he contributes to is called the Karaka Samhita, one of the 2 foundational texts of Ayurvedic medicine written around 2500 BC. It lists turmeric under the name Haridra and prescribes it specifically for abnormal tissue growths and internal masses that resist healing. This is not general wellness advice. This is targeted, condition-specific, documented treatment for what we now recognize as tumor behavior 4,500 years before chemotherapy existed. Thousands of miles away, with zero contact with India and zero knowledge of the Karaka Samhita, Chinese physicians are reaching the identical conclusion. China's oldest pharmacological text prescribes turmeric root decoctions under the name Jianghuang for patients presenting with hardened masses in the abdomen. The primary presentation of colon cancer, liver cancer, stomach cancer, 2 entirely separate civilizations, zero communication between them, both independently prescribing the same yellow root for the same disease pattern. Then Egypt. The Ebers Papyrus, written in 1550 BC, describes a yellow root compound applied to spreading ulcers that consume surrounding tissue, a presentation entirely consistent with carcinoma behavior. 3 of the oldest medical documents ever discovered. 3 civilizations separated by oceans and centuries with no contact between them, all arriving at the same yellow root for the same disease. That is not a coincidence. That is fundamental chemistry patiently waiting for modern science to catch up. Now let us examine what is actually happening inside the cancer cell when curcumin makes contact, because what modern chemistry uncovered is not folklore, not ancient superstition, and not alternative medicine. It is peer-reviewed, independently replicated molecular biology that any university laboratory on Earth can verify and has verified repeatedly across decades of controlled research. Curcumin is a polyphenol. Its molecular formula is C21H20O6. It is the compound that gives turmeric its distinctive yellow color, and it has been sitting inside a $2 root at every grocery store your entire life. When curcumin enters the human body and encounters a cancer cell, it does something that no synthetic chemotherapy drug has ever cleanly replicated. It penetrates the cancer cell membrane and binds directly to a protein called NF-kappa B. NF-kappa B is the master survival switch inside every cancer cell. It is the protein that tells malignant cells to keep dividing, to ignore the body's kill signal, and to spread without stopping. It is, in the most precise scientific language available, the reason cancer cells do not die when they should. Curcumin binds to it and switches it off. The cancer cell receives no survival signal. It has no instruction to keep dividing. And so it triggers apoptosis, its own programmed self-destruction, on contact. Here is what makes this mechanism extraordinary. Healthy cells do not rely on NF-kappa B for survival the same way cancer cells do. They are left completely unaffected. Curcumin does not destroy indiscriminately the way radiation does. It does not poison every rapidly dividing cell the way chemotherapy does. It targets the mechanism that makes cancer cells dangerous and leaves everything else untouched. Cambridge University confirmed this in 2007 across multiple independent laboratories simultaneously. Stay with me. Because what MD Anderson discovered next is the chapter the industry hoped would never reach you. In 2008, MD Anderson Cancer Center published findings that should have changed everything. MD Anderson is not a fringe institution. It is not an alternative medicine clinic operating outside the mainstream. It is ranked the #1 cancer research institution in the United States, and its published findings carry the full weight of that distinction. Lead researcher Dr. Bharat Agarwal, head of the Cytokine Research Laboratory, published his results in Cancer Research, the flagship journal of the American Association for Cancer Research. His conclusion was unambiguous. Curcumin demonstrated anti-cancer activity against every single cancer type tested: breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, pancreatic cancer, lung cancer, leukemia, everyone. NF-kappa B suppression was confirmed as the primary mechanism, plus simultaneous disruption of 5 additional cancer survival pathways that malignant cells depend on to stay alive. Dr. Agarwal stated publicly that curcumin was one of the most powerful anti-cancer agents ever tested in that laboratory. That is not a herbalist speaking. That is the head of research at America's top cancer institution. The scale of evidence surrounding this finding is staggering. Over 3,000 peer-reviewed studies on curcumin and cancer published as of 2024. More than 100 cancer types studied. Harvard, Oxford, the Mayo Clinic, and the National Cancer Institute have all published. Over 120 active clinical trials registered on clinicaltrials.gov right now. The cost of the source ingredient is $2. And here is the detail that ancient Ayurvedic physicians solved 4,000 years before the science existed to explain it. Curcumin alone has low bioavailability. Most passes through the body before absorbing. Adding piperine, the compound found in black pepper, increases curcumin absorption by 2,000%. The ancient golden paste recipe always combined turmeric with black pepper. They had solved the problem millennia before modern pharmacology discovered it existed. The science is not disputed. The evidence is not thin. So why has none of this ever reached your doctor's office? The answer is not complicated. It is just deeply ugly. You cannot patent a root that has grown in the ground for 4,500 years. You cannot create a proprietary formula when the active ingredient costs $2 and has been publicly documented since 2500 BC. You cannot build a $1.3 trillion industry on something any person on earth can buy at a grocery store, grind into a paste, and consume with black pepper before breakfast. And in a world where quarterly growth metrics drive every decision inside every boardroom, that economic reality is a death sentence for any natural compound, regardless of what the science says. In 1962, the FDA established that only synthetic, patentable compounds can be approved as cancer treatments. Natural compounds cannot make medical claims under that framework. Not because the evidence is insufficient, because the framework was designed to ensure that evidence alone is never enough. In 1995, the U.S. Patent Office granted patents on synthetic curcumin derivatives. Pharmaceutical companies could now profit from a chemically modified version of the same compound, while the $2 original was never promoted, never funded for Phase 3 trials, and never mentioned in oncology waiting rooms. Do the math. A successful Phase 3 trial on natural curcumin directs patients toward a $2 route and makes $60,000 per year chemotherapy drugs unnecessary. No shareholder on earth approves that trial. The American Cancer Society has never listed turmeric as a cancer preventive food. Not after 3,000 studies. Not after MD Anderson. Not after Cambridge. Not after 120 active clinical trials. They did not suppress this because it failed. They suppressed it because the economics of it succeeding were catastrophic to an industry that depends on you never knowing. The ancient golden paste costs less than $5. Turmeric root, black pepper, a healthy fat for absorption. Everything your body needs and everything a $1.3 trillion industry spent decades making sure you would never think to try. Think about the full scope of what we covered. Ayurvedic physicians in 2500 BC prescribing turmeric for abnormal growths that would not heal. Chinese physicians in 1000 BC independently prescribing the same yellow root for hardened abdominal masses. Egyptian healers in 1550 BC documenting it against spreading ulcers consistent with carcinoma. Cambridge University in 2007 confirming the molecular mechanism. MD Anderson in 2008 confirming anti-cancer activity against every cancer type tested. 3,000 peer-reviewed studies, 120 active clinical trials, Harvard, Oxford, Mayo Clinic, the National Cancer Institute, a $2 root, a $1.3 trillion reason to keep it quiet. This knowledge did not die. It was waiting in ancient texts, in university archives, in chemistry journals gathering dust on shelves, waiting for someone to open the vault. The ancient physicians knew. The researchers know. MD Anderson knows. And now, so do you. If this changed something for you, subscribe and share it with everyone who deserves to know. Every share preserves what the industry spent decades trying to erase. The next vault is already waiting.